All right, Stephen Key here, and I have a very special guest today. Leo, how are you?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Now,
Good.
you help inventors in many, many different ways, but let's talk about what you do with your partner, Don, and where do you do it?
Sounds good. Yeah, we're situated in Lexington, Kentucky, and we host a lot of virtual meetings and seminars. And so it's been very interesting to see us go from just physical locations to now we got people in our doors from all over. And so yeah,
And what's your organization called, Leo?
yeah, we're called the Inventors Network Kentucky, and we host seminars and talks for pretty much any inventor with a pain point that needs to be addressed.
You know, it's kind of interesting. You focused in your area, but because of COVID, you've gone beyond that, correct?
Yeah, it was a transformative event, that's for sure, in a good way for us.
Okay, so if I've got an idea and I want to know a little bit about, let's say, venturing for a minute, a little bit about
Sure.
manufacturing, what can your organization do to help me?
One of our big focuses is having a lean strategy towards venturing. A lot of people, they come through our doors and they think, well, where are the investors? Point me to them, and they'll write me a check, and that'll be it. We're off to the races. And we try to educate people that there's a leaner way to do that before you take that big plunge. You can really bootstrap a quick and dirty, cheap and easy prototype for most products and services at this point. And then you'll have something more tangible before it's time to meet those people. And it'll give you a lot more leverage when it comes to negotiating and to ultimately seeing that product go to market.
Kind of a proof of concept that this is what I have, but not breaking the bank to do it.
Yeah, that's an excellent way of phrasing it.
Yeah, because a lot of inventors end up spending a lot of money and time on things when they could probably do a little testing first. Is that correct in your opinion?
100%. Yeah.
Okay. So let's say I want to know a little bit about maybe raising money. You guys talk a little bit
Mhm.
about that too?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And there's so many ways to do that too. And I think that's one of the big issues facing new inventors is it's almost intimidating because there are so many ways to skin that cat that it's just they don't know where to begin.
Yeah, I think my opinion is do a little bit of testing before you spend a lot of money. But at
100%.
some somewhere during this process, you're going to probably need some money, aren't you?
Definitely. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Business is, oh, go for it.
I'm curious about how much money you need. Do people underestimate that a little bit?
Oh, definitely. I think they overestimate it on day one, and they underestimate it once they've scaled it out a little bit.
Okay.
Um, yeah, you don't need a lot to get started, but you definitely, once you hit a tipping point, you need some cash flow.
Okay. How do you determine how much cash you're going to need? How do you do that?
Oh, that's an excellent question. I think the first thing you need to look at is the actual cost of making what your product is, and then the size of your market. If you've got something that's going to be a luxury product that 10,000 people on the planet are going to be interested in, you've got a very different problem than somebody who's got something that's going to be in the dollar stores.
Okay. So how do you determine how much it's going to take to manufacture your idea? People ask me that all the time. Do I
Yeah.
just go to Alibaba or do I contact someone on the internet to give me a quote or should I find someone in the US to help me?
Right. Yeah. And every inventor is different and all their problems are different, which is one of the reasons why it's great to have organizations like ours that help educate people on these matters.
Okay.
But ultimately, the best way to look at it, from my perspective, if somebody's going into a venturing kind of phase, is what can you get done as lean as possible yourself? What can you make in your garage or with the help of friends before you get to the point where you're going to have to start asking people to open their checkbooks?
Is there any range that you've seen for someone to start up? Because I think sometimes people realize it's so easy to start today because you can sell it on Amazon, There's a lot of
Yeah,
online. You can sell it yourself. I can get it made a lot of different places. But just because you can, should they do that? I mean, sometimes I wonder if they're not, if they don't really have the roadmap. And I know your organization kind of helps with that roadmap. But
definitely.
isn't it a lot about creating demand too? Instead of just
Oh,
having a garage
100%.
full of products in your back that you ordered someplace. Can you talk a little bit about creating demand?
Oh, certainly. And that's all the more reason why scaling is so important is you want to start small and scale it out so you don't have those growing pains in your wallet.
Okay.
But creating a demand is really kind of my wheelhouse. I'm a copywriter and my background is in marketing and branding, and knowing what people want and getting them to do what I just call mental math is
Okay.
one of the most important aspects of developing a product. And when I say mental math, I love ice cream, for example. When I go to the grocery store, I do this little equation in my head. Everyone does it. Would I be happier if I was $5 poorer and a pint of ice cream richer? And if you can get people to do that math and say, "Oh yeah, I'd rather have a little less money and a little more of that," that's how you go about getting customers.
How can you, given that you also understand about testing, marketing, creating demand, is there a way to test an idea early on to see if that customer will give you the $5 for that ice cream before making that ice cream?
Definitely. My biggest recommendation to 90% of people, and again, every inventor is different and their journey is going to be different. But a lot of times, what you really need is either a PPA or a good NDA with your testing crowd, and just see what they have to say about it. I don't think I've ever had an inventor have a product and then test it and walk away saying, "Oh wow, this is exactly how I thought this would turn out." They liked all the things I liked and they disliked all the things I disliked. It's always critical to get that input because most of the times people are surprised by the
Huh.
uses and the appeals that their product has that they hadn't even considered.
So I know I need to go beyond just asking my friends and family what they think about my idea.
Absolutely. Yeah. If people aren't willing to pay for it, they're either being overly critical or overly nice. And family and friends are notorious for both. So, yeah.
What about crowdfunding? I think it's a
Ah,
great platform, but is there a problem with overexposure when you do that? Possibly.
definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a danger to it. On one hand, if you have protection, it's a great way to market. It's a great way to test the market. And it's a great way to get some cash flow for that product. But on the other hand, once it's out there, anybody can see it. And if you don't have the right protection, or if you aren't already thinking of improvements and iterations just to stay a step ahead of your competition, some of the people watching are writing it down and they're thinking of ways they can have that on Amazon before you do.
How important is it to educate yourself and finding a community that kind of supports you to help you along the way?
Oh, I think it's critical. No inventor is an island. There's no such thing as a lone wolf entrepreneur. You need a community, not just not just for input, not just for the cognitive stuff, but because chances are you're not really interacting with people outside of that community who really understand what you're going through in that process and holding you accountable. They just want to know, do you have a patent? Are you going to be a millionaire? How's all that going? And being around the right people,
Okay.
that's just as transformative as getting the experience under your belt.
What about people that say, I'm just going to learn it along the way? Is that a smart
uh,
approach?
you could do that with some things, but driving and operating military equipment and inventing are all kind of exceptions to that. There's a real danger to that.
Okay. So, where can people find you? We're going to put information down below, everybody. I think Leo and I both agree that education is the best place to start, having a great
Absolutely.
community that supports you, can answer your questions, and maybe taking it slow, testing ideas before you spend a lot of money, because I know you're emotionally just charged up and you want to jump into it. So,
Absolutely.
I want to know a little bit about how people can find you, and we'll have it down below, but they can find you on LinkedIn too, correct?
Oh, absolutely. I basically live there, so no worries there.
All
Yeah.
right. And so,
Um,
okay, so how would they find you on LinkedIn?
They could just, I think I'm the only Leo York. So literally LinkedIn/Leo York. It's me. Just look for the
Okay.
beard.
Okay. And they can find you also with your organization that you have in Kentucky, correct?
Absolutely. At kyinventors.org.
Very good. We'll put all that information down below. Leo, thank you very much for
Thank you.
giving all of us kind of a big picture on what the steps are. I don't care if you're venturing, you're licensing, if you got a great idea, you're going to need some help. Is that correct?
Absolutely. It's critical that you find a community.
All right. Leo, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.